She stole the last piece of my wife that I had left, fired it up in my own garage, and live-streamed the theft while flipping me off, then screamed, "My mommy owns this neighborhood, what are you going to do about it?" That was the moment I knew I wasn't just dealing with a spoiled brat. I was staring down a family empire of corruption that thought they were untouchable. And if you've ever wondered what happens when you push a man past his breaking point, well, this is it. My name's Marcus Tank Wheeler, retired Army mechanic, 20 years turning wrenches on Humvees in deserts where the coffee tasted like motor oil and the sand got into everything you owned. After my wife Sarah lost her fight with cancer, I moved to Willowbrook Estates with my teenage son Devin, trying to give him some stability. My garage became our sanctuary. The smell of WD-40 mixed with his after-school snacks, the ping of a wrench against metal, and parked in the corner the purple ATV Sarah helped me restore during her final weeks. She never got to ride it, but she picked that color herself. "Arizona sunsets," she said. That machine wasn't just steel and paint. It was her memory stitched into every seam of the leather seat. But Willowbrook wasn't peaceful. It was ruled by Delilah Morrison, HOA President Blonde Piranha, with a white Escalade and a husband on city council. She turned community guidelines into torture devices. My work truck commercial vehicle violation. A dent from Devin's basketball on the garage door, aesthetic disruption. Using tools at 7:05 p.m., noise ordinance. Every citation padded with mysterious processing fees. I paid the first few thinking it was neighborly. Biggest mistake of my life. Then came the horror stories. Mrs. Henderson, a sweet widow with oatmeal cookies, sobbing at my doorstep. They were taking her house over fines for her late husband's shed that had stood for 15 years. The Martinez family lost their home because their Christmas lights were garish. I started connecting dots. They weren't enforcing order. They were targeting veterans, blue-collar families, anyone who didn't belong to their little country club. And then there was Skylar, 19, entitled Daddy's BMW in the driveway community college dropout who thought Instagram fame was a career. She'd been eyeing my ATV for months, circling it like a vulture. "It's just collecting dust." She'd smirk, I could give it some adventure. I always said no. Until one March morning while I was cleaning a carburetor, the sound of my ATV roared to life. Nobody touched that engine but me. I sprinted outside. There she was, backing out, phone in hand, streaming it all. "Put it back now," I yelled. She just laughed sharp like breaking glass. "Relax, boomer, just borrowing it for content." Then she dropped the line that started a war. "My mommy owns this neighborhood. What are you going to do about it?" I watched her peel out purple paint glinting in the sun, her middle finger raised for the camera. Most people would have called the cops. But soldiers don't react, we plan. I screenshotted every post, every comment. Her joy rides through Papago Park hashtags bragging about being untouchable. 20 minutes later, I called Phoenix PD. Officer Rodriguez looked like he'd rather be getting dental work. "So, the HOA president's daughter took your ATV stole," I corrected. He sighed, said maybe I should work it out neighborly. Translation, the Morrisons owned him. 6 hours later, the ATV came back like a bad penny. Dumped in my driveway, scratched, caked in mud, seat covered in boot prints. A zip-tied note dangled from the handlebars. "Thanks for the loan. XOXOS." My chest tightened. But military training never leaves you. I documented everything. Photos, receipts. The damage was over $1,000. In Arizona, that's felony theft. Evidence secured. And right on cue, a text buzzed my phone. "Hope you learned your lesson. Some people own this neighborhood. Others just rent space." Screenshot saved. I wasn't just fighting a brat. I was staring at a machine of corruption. And the more I pushed back, the more they retaliated. Certified mail came, emergency HOA meeting for my property. Fines, illegal surveillance for my cameras, oil contamination for 2 drops on the driveway, disturbing the peace with police reports. Total $2,400. And here's the kicker. The notice only had Delilah's signature, not the board's majority. Illegal. That night, fueled by gas station coffee, I combed through the Arizona Planned Community Act until dawn, and I found their Achilles heel. They'd been fast-tracking foreclosures, skipping required cure periods. Mrs. Henderson, the Martinez family, all illegally pushed out. I almost quit. There was a night I sat in that garage staring at Sarah's ATV, wondering if I was insane to fight this. They had the cops, the council, the money. I was just one man. Maybe I should just move on, I thought. My son deserved peace. But then I remembered Sarah whispering Arizona sunsets with a weak smile as we painted that frame. She'd wanted me to finish it, to keep going. And I realized this wasn't just about me. It was about every neighbor who'd been crushed under their boots. So I pulled myself up. If they wanted war, they had it. I filed a formal complaint with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. 23 pages of evidence, selective enforcement, suspicious foreclosures. HOA funds funneled to Delilah's company. To my shock, they responded fast, opened an investigation. But the Morrisons weren't done. They tried intimidation, midnight calls with heavy breathing, a black sedan idling outside my house. Mrs. Henderson's tires slashed a brick through her window. They thought we'd cave. Instead, I organized a neighborhood watch. Patrol schedules, radios, cameras. Within a week, we had more coverage than the CIA. The harassment stopped. Bullies hate fair fights. Skylar wasn't slowing down either. She stole the ATV again, GPS tracker screaming as she tore across Phoenix. I followed the signal to a warehouse party straight out of a bad music video. Bass shaking the walls, beer stinking up the desert air. And there it was, my ATV turned into a carnival ride. Drunk kids lined up handing Skylar $50 apiece to ride it. Desert adventure. Rentals. No rules, no limits. Her Instagram bragged. My wife's memory desecrated for beer money. I sat across the street, hands shaking but documenting everything. Venmo receipts, customer videos, timestamps. Felony charges were stacking like bricks. Meanwhile, Jake, my buddy's lawyer friend, dug through HOA records and laughed. Delilah had been issuing fines solo for 3 years. Illegal. Over $47,000 stolen, $23,000 funneled to her company. We uncovered tax returns. She never filed foreclosures, lining her pockets with unreported cash. Organized theft disguised as governance. And then Skylar's own stupidity handed me the golden ticket. She posted a tutorial showing how to remove VIN numbers from vehicles using my ATV. Federal crime. Game over. The FBI got involved. IRS too. Local news picked up the story. HOA president accused of systematic theft. Her daughter running an illegal rental empire. Willowbrook. Scandal trended. Neighbors who'd been silent came forward with horror stories. Delilah, panicked, broke into the HOA office at midnight to burn documents. What she didn't know, cameras I'd installed after a board vote caught her red-handed destroying files, trying to plant drugs in my folder to frame me. Evidence tampering, burglary, attempted framing. Checkmate. The FBI raids hit at dawn. Black SUVs rolled in like wolves, agents in tactical gear swarming Morrison properties across 3 states. I watched from my window as Delilah was dragged out in cuffs, screaming about being a community volunteer. Bradley resigned in disgrace, his city council career in ashes. And Skylar arrested mid-party, beer in hand, mouth open in disbelief as agents cuffed her for grand theft, money laundering conspiracy. The look on her face, pure shock that the world no longer bent to her entitlement, was worth every sleepless night. In court, I wore my Army uniform. The Morrisons wore orange jumpsuits. I testified for 3 hours, laying out every screenshot, every receipt, every law they broke. Their lawyers tried to paint me as a bitter veteran with a vendetta. But truth is bulletproof. The jury saw it. Skylar couldn't even control herself. She exploded in court, shouting, "He's lying! We're rich! My family owns half this city." The judge had her dragged out. Contempt charges added. Her own arrogance sealed their fate. The verdict came quick. Guilty on all counts, RICO conspiracy fraud theft, money laundering. Sentences measured in decades. Skylar 12 years. Delilah 15 banned for life from any HOA. Bradley 8 pension forfeited. Watching them led away in shackles, the same people who once thought they owned us all. I can't describe that feeling. Vindication, justice, maybe even peace. And that's where my story ends. Not at a party, not with champagne, but in that courtroom where the mighty fell and the victims finally saw the scales of justice tip our way. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. When entitled bullies think they're untouchable, the truth relentlessly documented and fearlessly fought for will always bring them down.